Hello everybody, good to see you here, good to be here as always on Tuesdays. Thank you for being here. Let's put our intention up. If you haven't seen it already, there is consistency, expansion, and growth. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. So happy equinox to all of you. Here where I am, the exact moment of 0 degrees Aries is at 11:07 p.m. tonight. So depending on where you're located, either Tuesday 19th, Wednesday 20th, both days, how about double celebration? I don't know. I think this whole week we should celebrate. And I think maybe that's because here I'm in the northern hemisphere where we are going into springtime. In the southern hemisphere, moving into fall time. That is why I have started now. It's the spring equinox where I am, but I've started just saying equinox or the Aries equinox or the Libra equinox, just because I don't know, with the internet and everything and the reach we all have, we can talk to people very easily on the other side of the world, right? Much easier than we have ever been able to before. So I feel like it's more relevant to just say it that way. Yeah, I don't know. Something I've been kind of toying with. Hi guys, I'm taking a peek in the comments. Kevin, Nikita, good to see you guys here as always. So happy equinox. I did put a quick little video. I guess it's really not that quick. You guys know that I don't talk very quick, sorry. Put a little video on the Facebook and Instagram page talking about the equinox. So if you haven't seen that, haven't had a chance to check that out, go ahead and do so there. A little bit more info. We'll talk a little bit about it tonight, but also the other things that are going on this week here, playing into our intention. So the equinox is today, tomorrow. Sun moves into the sign of Aries. So happy birthday to all of you Aries suns out there, coming into your season here, moving away from Pisces. 0 degrees Aries is the starting of the zodiacal wheel. So if you look at our zodiac wheel that starts with the sign of Aries as the first sign, then you would call this the astrological new year if you look at it that way. I have said before, I kind of feel like Capricorn, 0 Capricorn, can be used as a new year because that is where the light that is now turning dominant in the northern hemisphere or within our zodiacal calendar, the light is now going to be taking over. So the light has been slowly growing since we've reached 0 Capricorn in the northern hemisphere. Very, very slowly, the light in the day has been coming back. And if you are up early in the morning or even in the evenings, you are noticing that and have been noticing that for quite a while. So I feel like for me, that 0 Capricorn moment where the seeding of the light starting to come back, that's the beginning for me because it's like the inception. So think of either a plant or a flower or something growing, or even the growth of a baby before it's born. So you have that seeding moment where the egg and the sperm come together and there's this initiation, or you think about the moment of germination for a plant where the seed is now in the proper conditions to start growing. You know what I mean? So that's my my little take on that part and a little side shoop. So yep, Sun moves into Aries overnight tonight. So we're going into that spring portion of the year. Aries, such a sign of individuation. We talk about this in the video. Starting things, initiating things. It's a fire sign. So as we move into, the sun moves into a fire sign, the moon also has entered a fire sign. So the moon is now in the sign of Leo. So we have both the sun and the moon tomorrow and the next day, both in fire signs, both in signs about initiating and individuating and like having the bravery to move forward and do something, having the passion to do something. Sometimes the difference between Aries and Leo can be that Aries is much more eye focused, much more centrally located, where Leo, being a fire sign, can also be kind of a little centrally focused, but I feel like Leo, with that childlike feeling to it, and that like there's a little bit more of a community feeling to it there. So it's more like Leo wants to raise itself up so that way it can help raise others up in a way. And in a way that is kind of Leo tooting its own horn by being able to be like, look, I can help these other people, or I can utilize what I have to help others. Sometimes it can be in that still like self-serving way, but bringing the Leo moon into it over the next couple days might kind of help maybe a little bit with like the self-centeredness, selfishness, maybe not. So I like that as the sun moves into a fire sign, the moon is moving into a fire sign. That just feels like lots of passion, lots of initiation, lots of starting energy here going in. So if you have things that you are feeling pulled to do, if you feel like you have a little extra motivation or a little extra energy somehow, roll with that over the next couple days. Same point, fire signs, don't burn yourself out. So that you can only run on passion and adrenaline for so long. So just kind of throwing that out there a little bit too. So that's today as we start that. And Thursday, this is already in the applying aspect. So we're already maybe starting to feel this one, but exact as Thursday and then through the weekend also. So Venus conjoining Saturn. We've had a couple planets conjoining Saturn lately, haven't we? So now it's Venus's turn. Venus conjoins Saturn. Moon is still in the sign of Leo at the time. So this is a new cycle for Venus and Saturn. We've talked about how when two planets come together, it starts a new cycle for those two planets. So Venus coming into contact with Saturn is starting some sort of new cycle or new level when it comes to Venus and Saturn in your life. So some sort of new level of maturity, some sort of level of order, boundary, security, things like that. Possibly like feeling limitations are held down in the more shadow side of Saturn, but as it relates to Venusian things in our life. So, you know, it's the, excuse me. So the areas that we've been talking a lot about Venus lately because of Jupiter and Uranus being in the sign of Taurus and all of that being ruled by Venus. But last week we talked about Venus and Jupiter being in mutual reception. So Venus has a lot that's is going on right now and has been going on. And now we have this point where Saturn is sitting there with Venus, and these areas where we want to bring forward those Venusian qualities. So those areas where we want to promote balance and harmony and love, those areas of possibly aesthetic, those areas of relationship, whether that's with a significant other or a family member, often feminine friendship and companionship. So maybe our female friends or our mothers or our sisters or our grandmothers, cousins, things like that. But some new level initiating here, some level of wanting to bring security to these Venusian subjects within our life. So being that it's Saturn, the areas where these Venusian areas of our life, so love and relationship, the things that bring us balance, bring us harmony, the things that bring us beauty and maybe some sort of artistic expression within our life, coming under a little bit of fire of having to put in some sort of effort, or perhaps having to kind of like face something. Putting in the effort is something that Saturn likes to make us do, but it's working towards some sort of Venusian outcome or addressing some sort of Venusian scenario, situation, or just occupancy within our life. So think about where you've had to maybe be a little more consistent with the effort you have to put in. Think about maybe where there has been some facing of some sort of realizations or some sort of reality maybe starting to peek in. Remember, I said this is exact Thursday, so we're kind of coming towards it here a little bit. There is a tone of seriousness to Venus this week. So last week, our intention was I drop into a reflective and receptive space. It was very floaty, very Pisces and very Neptunian, right? This is a little bit more serious and a little bit more effort-inducing. But since it's focusing on something that is Venusian, so maybe it's focusing on improving some sort of relationship in our life, or maybe it's improving some sort of time that we set aside for creative pursuits that we have, or maybe there's some sort of artistic project or some sort of aesthetic type thing you've wanted to do within your own space. Now Saturn is kind of bringing that here to the forefront. Telling us that now is the time to do so. But since we're looking to bring in these Venusian things, like if you're looking to maybe remodel your bathroom or your space that you have, there's a lot of work and effort that has to go into that, right? You have like everything you have to take out and remove in order to paint and put up all kinds of new things, or if you're totally like demolishing to renovate something, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of like precision within that. But the outcome, this big bright light that is like the light at the end of the tunnel that we're going towards, that type of thing feels like it's going to make the effort worth it in a way. Does that make sense? It's like there's a lot of Saturnian work that might be starting, some sort of new cycle initiating perhaps, where Venus and Saturn play out in your own life, where Pisces is in your own life too. Those type of things are making us work for it, are going to make us work for it, but we have a motivation to do so because of that bright light at the end of the tunnel. So I like that. You're starting to see these words pop up from our intention. I'm gonna look in the comments here super quick because I see a couple more pop up. Hey Kristen, happy equinox, good to see you. Kevin, oh yeah, Leo moon. So happy lunar return to you. Something we each get once a month, but that's extra special energy if at this equinox point here for you. It's just an extra powerful intention. So anything you feel, like I said, go with it over the next couple days. Especially feel, because you're a Leo moon, so that feeling, that like intuitive part there. So yeah, that's Venus and Saturn conjoining, and that we have that playing out through this week. There may be a little bit of weightiness to it. There might be a little bit of heaviness. You know, this is one of those that we stick to the positive side here because we're leaning into the energies and working with them, and we want to pull out the positive, not the negative shadow sides. But there's a lot of possible like downer type energy with Venus and Saturn too. There's lots of possibility of feeling stuck, feelings of limitations, feeling of like inadequacy, and like feelings of insecurity. Things like that are very possible, very valid. Moon in a fire sign, passionate, very can be aggressive isn't the word that I want to look for, but like just very like at the forefront. So you know, there's a possibility for over the next couple days the things to get kind of like boil over a little bit. So that's just something to be mindful of. But in the positive light that we're looking at here, there is some new level of order, some new level of structure coming together here, and I like that. Very, very much so. What I also like about this conjunction, which might kind of, I guess it could technically go either way, but this could kind of help curb that negative and bring a little more positive to it, is that this conjunction between Venus and Saturn, it's in the sign of Pisces. It's also in the decan. There's we'll describe that here in a moment. So it's in each, our 12, I guess I better just describe it because I don't know that I've talked about the bounds and the decans very much here. So we have our zodiacal wheel, right? And we instantly divide it into 12 pieces, one section for each sign, okay? So now take one of those sections, take the sign of Aries, and divide that into 3 equal parts, into 10-degree segments. Those are decans, or the decanates of the sign of Aries. And each sign is broken up into these three equal parts, okay? So this conjunction is happening within the decanate of Jupiter. So it's like each one of these little sections is kind of like sub-ruled by a planet. So the sign of Aries, the sign of Pisces, where the conjunction is happening, is ruled by Jupiter, right? That's that mutual reception because Jupiter is in Venus's sign and Venus is in Jupiter's sign. But it's also happening within the decan, that 10-degree segment that belongs to Jupiter as well. Not only is it happening within that 10-degree section that belongs to Jupiter, but there's also a smaller little subdivision of each sign called the terms or the bounds, which is divided up into even smaller sections. It's about 5 per sign. It's also in the bound or the term of Jupiter. So this conjunction is ruled by Jupiter in every which way that you slice it. Okay? It's ruled by Jupiter and supported by Jupiter. So Jupiter is what? The positive blesser, the abundance bringer, the expander. So I like this when we're talking about setting new structures and bringing in new boundaries and new focuses to Venus and Saturn, because what that tells me is that bright light that we were looking at, that like motivation, it's amplified a little bit. So the prize at the end is very, very lovely, very, very supported, and we know that if we put in the work, it's going to do that. So not only is this whole conjunction ruled by Jupiter, and then we have that mutual reception still going on, the other aspect that we have this week is that Saturday into Sunday, Venus is going to sextile Jupiter. So I like this even more. As she comes off this conjunction with Saturn, she's moving into this other connection with the great benefic, with the one that brings us positive abundance and amplification of different things, the expander, right? So what that is telling me is that if we put in the work that Saturn and Venus are asking us to do, then the reward could potentially be even more than what you imagine it to be. The other thing that it feels kind of like a, so like Venus coming into conjunction with Saturn. Venus, especially in the sign of Pisces, is a little bit, can be a little bit heads in the clouds, right? Can be a little bit all over. It can be very like artistic expression, very creative expression, very kind of like abstract. That's the word I'm looking for. Like an abstract expression, abstract emotional expression of Venusian things, of love and desire and beauty and artwork and harmony and women and all these other things. Coming into a conjunction with Saturn, still in the sign of Pisces, where Saturn has been, but Saturn's been dealing with the boundaries and the limitations and the framework and the structure of Piscean things. So it's like Saturn tries to kind of contain Venus a little bit and kind of not like limit Venus, but maybe, kind of like guide Venus. I say guide Venus rather than limit because we have Jupiter behind the scenes through the sign ruler, the decan ruler, and the bound term ruler. So we have Jupiter totally in control. So it's like Saturn, the guiding hand on your shoulder, showing your way towards the yellow brick road type of thing, right? So the analogy, and then like actually walking down that yellow brick road with the sextile with Jupiter. So what I was kind of thinking along with that of like an analogy is like, you know how they say that like, I have little kids, so this is part of why it made me kind of think about it. But you know how they say that like little kids or children that are super loved and supported kind of sometimes have that like ability to go out and move forward and like have the I've heard this before. I don't really know necessarily it's true, so I'm not giving parenting advice by any means, believe me. Disclaimer there. But like I've heard it stated before that when kids feel loved and supported and like prepared, basically, like in, I don't know, physical and emotional ways, that it's easier for them to go out and try to like kind of go do their own thing because, you know, they know mom and dad are there when they need them, type of thing. So like I think about like the kid that, you know, mom and dad sit down at the park at the bench, and then like the kid starts to walk off, and then he gets a little nervous, so he stops, he turns around, looks back at his mom and dad, they kind of like give him the thumbs up or tell him to go ahead, whatever, go play, and then he smiles and he kind of runs off. So it's like that. I'm super secure, I'm super supported, I have the framework that I need. I have the backing behind me to be able to go forward and to do these things. It's really, really kind of inspiring. And these aspects here give us the keywords within our intention. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. There is consistency. Saturn makes us be very, very consistent. Saturn does not let us waver. And Venus in the sign of Pisces likes to kind of waver a little bit. There is expansion. Jupiter. Jupiter is behind the scenes here everywhere. Growth, both Jupiter, Venus, and the sign of Aries. So whether you are going into the sign of spring or not, physically where you live, we are all going into Aries. So we are all going into a metaphorical, astrological spring season. A season of starting, a season of initiating, a season of moving forward with those seeds and that have been planted, and actually taking the action that we've been saying we are going to take, and the growth that comes from that. Venus interacting with Saturn in this kind of like serious and maybe even calculated or predetermined, I'm not sure I really love those words, but like I was something else, that's what we're going with right now. This kind of like structured, we're just going to go with structured Venusian thing. It's going to promote Venus, and it's going to promote Venus within our life. Venus is the planet of fertility and of growth, childbirth. So there is lots of room for growth here. And technically next week, but before we meet back here, we have the lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. We'll be talking about that next week too, because it's definitely in play next week. Excuse me, need a drink of water. We'll definitely be talking about it next week, but since it happens before we come back, we need to talk about the lunar eclipse. 5 degrees Libra, so it's the full moon too, right? The full moon of the lunar cycle that we are currently in. So on Monday, lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. It's a full moon, so the moon has been growing in light. We're moving towards this culmination. Not only is this a full moon for the current lunar cycle that we're in, but because it's a lunar eclipse, it's a full moon for the solar eclipse that happened in Libra, October 14th of last year. So what you can do when kind of looking and tracking how the eclipses are playing out in your life, I would start by looking at where Aries and Libra are, where the nodes are in your own chart, those two houses that they fall in, because you guys know that I use whole sign, so it's only going to fall in, most likely it's going to fall in one house. And looking at those topics, but then also walking yourself back to the fall, looking around that October time frame, and see what type of things were maybe seeded, planted, initiated, were just kind of starting to come about and have kind of played out since then. And those things may perhaps, now that we're coming into the Libra lunar eclipse, the like full moon of that eclipse cycle from the solar eclipse, which would have been like the new moon, there is now some sort of height, some sort of culmination of those things that are playing out. So those things that started to initiate in the fall, October 14th, give yourself a little leeway around there. I would just say October, played out through November, December, January, and maybe kind of working towards a height or a culmination right now. Not that they're done. It's not the ending point. Remember that the full moon is technically like the halfway point for a lunation cycle. Eclipses work a little bit differently. They play out much more broadly as far as like a time frame go. So, but you can still look back at the themes that have been kind of growing to see how this is kind of playing out in your life and have a little bit of, have a little contemplation, a little meditation, your own little insight there of how these things have been playing out. So being in the sign of Libra, consistency and growth. Expansion, not so much in my head. Consistency, Libra is the sign of balance, the sign of the scales. It's also the exaltation of Saturn. Libra likes things to kind of be symmetrical. Maybe not just so in the way that like Virgo likes things to be like meticulously in order, but more in a like aesthetically pleasing way, whether that's physically aesthetically pleasing, mentally aesthetically pleasing, but that balancing motion. So that takes consistency. Libra is ruled by Venus. So there's the growth and that comes from that. So yeah, those are the aspects that we have this week here for our intention. I think it fits great with, I think the intention fits nicely with it. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. I like there is because it's like very defermative, right? It's like there is consistency, expansion, growth. You know, like I drop into, I see, I proceed, I allow. Those are just a couple terms that we've used lately. That's kind of more of like a, it's coming to me, right? Or like I'm stepping into it, or like we're moving into it type of energy. But I feel like for this, it's more of a, like there is, which is very Saturnine too, right? It's like there is consistency, expansion, and growth. So it's there. Are you going to step into it? Are you going to move towards that Venusian light that Saturn and Jupiter are asking you to move towards? The sun is moving into the sign of Aries, so you have that willpower of the sun in the place of the warrior, the place of Mars, the place of action and motivation and drive, place of initiation. Aries is another place that you can look for burnout and maybe like a front-loaded, like not so much follow-through. Sometimes Aries is very good at starting things, but not always. Sometimes it can be, but not always the best at following through or carrying things out. So just something to be a little bit mindful of. Okay, I'm going to take, now that we've gotten through the intentions or the aspects there, we have a card that I pulled, but I'm looking at the comments here really quick. Kevin, biggest thing for me was this being blindsided when I had an employee transfer departments. Okay, biggest thing for me was when I was being blindsided when I had an employee transfer departments. My director was involved with it but failed to inform me. I'm happy for my team member, but at the same time I have to cover their work instantly. So Kevin, that's very much a like me, we, and them type of situation. Like it's affecting you very, very intimately, and it's very much focused on like you, what you have to do instantly. But your part, I'm happy for my team member, but that's very Leo, and that's the Leo moon in you. Leo gets a rap of being like very, very selfish, but that's the fire part of it, where it's just very passionate and very it can be self-centered because it can be too passionate, but Leo has a little different motivation. It's ruled by the sun. So the sun is solar. The sun is collective, right? Where the moon is more internal, more lunar. So in the sign of Leo, we have the light that shines, but the light that shines for all type of things. So it's like, I want me to shine, but I want you to shine too. I think of like theater is just a very Leo type thing anyways, but I think of like a theater team, or like the group of like a cast. That's what the word I'm looking for. I'm not a theater person, but like the cast of a play or something like that. It's like everybody is lifting everybody up and everybody is standing out as an individual, but only if everybody is doing it type of thing. Yeah, very, very much so. Thought I'm taking myself too seriously. Well, with Saturn there and Venus, we're all probably bound to take something a little bit too serious this week. So before we get into our meditation, before I ramble on for too long, card this week, the Page of Wands. Page of Wands. I thought this was pretty fitting for 0 degrees of Aries. So the wands are ruled by fire. We're talking about 2 fire signs. The page is the first, or like the lowest of the court cards. So you have this position of royalty. You have like the king and the queen are above the page, but you have like this position of like being within the courtship and being held up a little ways, but the page is the lowest person of the court. So you like my cricket? I love these cards too. So it's like somebody that has lots of power behind them, lots of ability, lots of potential, but there's still lots of ladders to climb up. There's still lots of moving and still lots of steps yet to take to get to the highest point. So I think for 0 Aries, I think that's very fitting, very much initiating, very much starting, but there's still a whole lot to go. Aries being within the kind of that like I, me type thing. It's very, very powerful, but often where I see Aries playing out, sometimes there's still something to learn. Not always. Not saying that everybody that is an Aries we all have things to learn, but not that like necessarily you're an Aries, you have more to learn than somebody else. But I think there's some sort of level of starting, some level of birth and emergence, and it's more like maybe not learning, but more like guidance is needed, okay? So like the page is very youthful, he's very exuberant, he's very optimistic. If you can, it's kind of hard to see on here, but anyways, if you know the page card, then he has this staff that he's holding that has like some new growth on the end of it, so it's like he has something that he's holding up that is starting to grow, and he's very, very proud of it, but it's not a full plant yet. It's just these couple little leaves that he has on there, so it's like there's still a lot to go, a lot of work yet to do, but we're moving in the right direction. And with Venus and Saturn coming together and starting this new cycle, I like this card for that too, because I like the like youthful optimism that I see in the page, this like exuberantness that we see, and that is very much Venusian. The little green leaf, very Venusian, right? Venus rules the sign of Taurus. But there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of rungs to go up. There's something that is just kind of starting. So this new cycle with Saturn is very, very fitting for this as well. The excitement and the exuberance that the page is holding is very indicative of the Jupiter influence that we're talking about here this week too. So yeah, I think it's very, very fitting too, Kristen, and cards never lie. The funny thing is that when I pulled this one, I wasn't planning on pulling my cards yet. I was just shuffling my deck as my husband was helping me with the video and the audio. He's a videographer, so he helps me with that part. And I was just sitting here and just shuffling my cards, just kind of like warming up the energy a little bit and just saying, hey, how are you? I hadn't played with them yet today. And the Page of Wands jumped right out. So it was like, hey, we're going to get down to business. We're not going to have small chat first. We're going to just smack you in the face with the card that you need rather than you trying to sit here and make small talk with me. I thought that was kind of funny because it was like, I really was trying to just kind of like, I had this feeling of like waking up my cards a little bit, and I was just like, hey, how you doing? This has kind of been my day. And they were like, I already know what your day is. I already know what you're going to ask. Here it is. And the cards, they don't lie. That's the way they go. So let's move into our intention, shall we? Let's see. I don't know. Do you guys want to see it one more time? I took it down, but oh, my screen's not. There we go. Okay. If you want to see it one more time on the screen before I get rid of it, there is consistency, expansion, and growth. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. There is really, really high energy, and there is really, really grounding energy. There is moving up high, and there is grounding us down, right? Yeah. Fire trine energy. Yeah, totally, Kristen. Totally, totally. So let's get ready to move into our meditation before it gets any later here. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling on a little bit, but it's the fire signs, just like you're talking about, Kristen. It's that passion and that drive motivating me to just keep going and keep talking about it. So let's get ready to light our intentional candle, and as we do so, we think about our intention. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. I'm going to first the candle to light here, the starting, the initiating, the seeding of the flame here. So we start out with our white candle as always, and as we watch the flame grow, so does our intention. This white candle allows you to bring in any other colors that you feel are fitting to your path, your day, these situations and these scenarios and these aspects that we're talking about here, these Venus and Saturn type things. You can change this candle into any color you want it to be. White, purification, amplification. You can cleanse, you can amplify, you can create lots of magic out of white. So, looking at the flame for just a moment because it feels extra nice tonight. I know it's right here in front of me and not all of you. So, I'm just releasing everything on an exhale before we get started here. And if you're ready to go ahead and do so, settle into a nice comfortable position. If you have any little fidgets or wiggles that you need to get out, or you need to move around because I've been talking for too long, or you've been sitting for too long, go ahead and do that. And if you're ready to go ahead and do so, close your eyes. If you're not quite ready to do so, soften your gaze and just try your best to not focus too hardly and too intently on anything. If you're ready to go ahead and do so, feel free to close your eyes. Settle into a space. Settling into your own space. And we start by taking a moment to check in with our breath. We start by taking a moment to analyze and sympathize and understand and acknowledge the energy, the level of energy and enthusiasm that we came to this practice with today. Let's acknowledge the level of energy and the condition of our breath for just a moment. Sitting within whatever space you are currently in, before moving onward and upward from wherever we are. Here we meet ourselves at our own level. Here your physical and your rational mind, your moving conscious mind meets your soul, meets your heart, and meets your breath right where you are. And then after you've had a moment to sit with your own space, on the next inhale, let's slowly and gently work to focus the breath. Let's start together with an inhale. If you're able to breathe in through your nose with your mouth closed. If not, if you are unable to breathe through your nose, go ahead and breathe through your mouth. But feel that cool air as it enters your body and as it moves down your throat as you breathe in. Cooling your throat as it slowly starts to enter your lungs. As your lungs start to expand, filling with wonderful, beautiful oxygen from the environment around you. They expand, taking up more and more space within your body. As they continue to expand, you feel your abdomen distend as your navel moves away from your spine, fully allowing yourself to fill with this breath completely. Once you've taken in all the air that you possibly can, hold your breath here for just a moment, if possible. If able, feel your body and your lungs fully extended, fully full of oxygen. Loved, supported, nourished. This is what your internal organs are feeling at the moment as your lungs expand. Then, as you ever so slowly start to release the breath, slowly you feel the air come up from your lungs, up through your throat, as you expel it out your mouth. As you release that air from your lungs back into the ethers where it came, back into the universe, you feel your abdomen move back to a neutral position, navel moves back towards your spine, diaphragm moves back up into a neutral position. And after you've released all the air that you possibly can, I invite you to hold your breath at the bottom of the exhale for just a moment. And as you exhale, feel that complete release. Feel closure. And feel the preparing for something new. A new start, a new cycle. As you prepare to take your next inhale, go ahead and do that now. Inhaling, holding, and exhaling. Releasing, holding, and feeling that release at the bottom of the exhale. Before you take that next breath in, as you sit here at the bottom of the exhale, releasing all of the air that you've had within your lungs previously, ready to start a new cycle and moving towards something wonderful, moving towards that wonderful, oxygenating, nourishing air coming into your lungs. Take that nice deep breath in now and feel the growth, feel the expansion, feel the consistency of your breath as you move that air from the environment and the ethers around you into your body. Holding that feeling of contentment, if possible, that feeling of security, that feeling of I have enough within me at this very moment to move forward. And so you do. You move forward with the exhale. I now encourage you to continue that process of following your inhale in, holding, following your exhale out, and holding. If you're able to make the inhale and the exhale audible to where you can hear it, bonus points. Slow, steady, and consistent. And your breath continues to grow and expand. As you continue this process of breathing out, in and out, this process that we meet here every Tuesday to do together, but also this process that your body automatically does on its own without you even thinking about it. One of those autonomic functions of our body that happens subconsciously is the breathing in and out. And as you connect to this breath, this structure and this framework of your life force and your prana within you, you initiate a new cycle every time you breathe in, moving up towards something wonderful, moving towards something Venusian, a nice, full, deep inhale. A nice, full, supportive breath in. On the exhale, you release. You reflect, like the sign of Pisces does. And on the inhale, you initiate something that is so energizing, just like the sign of Aries. You feel the passion, you feel the drive, you feel the courage that comes with the inhale as you feel the energy of the universe. You feel the energy of the environment around you coming into your being, filling you with not only air, not only oxygen that is going to move throughout your body, but also the excitement, the exuberance, and the positive attitude of the page coming into your body. The exuberance and the support and the abundance of Jupiter behind the scenes of this Saturn-Venus conjunction, this new cycle. Think about that. We have a new Venus-Saturn cycle starting that is completely ruled by Jupiter, which is sitting in Venus's sign, helping each other out, lending each other the tools needed, like we spoke about last week. Calling each other with little messages and tips. Hey friend, don't forget about this tool you have in your back pocket. As the sun moves from the last degree of Pisces into the first degree, 0 degree, 0 marker, the starting and the initiation of Aries. As the light takes over for movement and growth. As the zodiacal spring, rebirth happens. You feel this fresh breath of air that has literally entered your body, figuratively filling your soul at the same time. The ability to move forward down our Venusian path bravely and securely. As always, thank you for joining in this space, but especially at this pivotal turning point within our astrological wheel. This moment of contemplation before turning directions from one season into another. A moment where we all have immense power of starting and initiating, especially within the cardinal sign of Aries that we get at the Aries equinox. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that your breath energizes you as much as my breath energizes me. And I hope that when you need to, especially when things are going on within our life and within our day, Kevin, maybe we're talking to you, work, since you put the comment out there. As you're moving forward in your day and things come about, whether they're physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, confrontational, whatever it is, I hope you are able to at least sometimes attempt to refocus and recenter yourself with your breath. I fail at it. I succeed at it. Sometimes I'm just okay at it. So I imagine that every one of you are probably the same type of mixture, maybe just we all have different levels of really, really good at it, really, really sucky, and kind of somewhere in the middle. Probably most of us fall somewhere in the middle most of the time, because that's life and that's being a human, right? I think we are very much here to experience, the human experience, the whole range of it. So thank you as always. Thank you too, Nikita. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. So that's our intention for this week. That's our meditation for this week. There is consistency, expansion, and growth. So happy equinox to all of you. Happy Aries season to those Aries suns that are around us. Even other Aries placements. Just if you have any planets in the sign of Aries, just know that over the next month, the sun will be passing over it. If you are an Aries moon, if you are an Aries rising, or any other planets that are, like, especially the personal planets, Mercury, Mars, Venus. Apparently I've talked too much about Venus. The other planets too, but those personal planets can really, really hit close to home. So go forward this week. Go forward with the optimism and the potential of the page, okay? The potential of passion, of fire, of drive, of creativity. There is a little bit of a MacGyver type thing within Aries too, where like you can, you can make shit happen out of not having a whole lot, because they have that drive and have that motivation to initiate something. So they're going to figure it out. And like Kristen said, take a look at this cute little guy. Like, how can you not? These cards are so happy and so positive. I love it. Look at him just like ready to go off there and just like have a good old time, and take his little sword with him and move forward here with his newfound abundance that he has, marching into that court, ready to claim his spot whenever it's available for him. So thank you all again. Thanks, Kristen. Happy blessed solar cycle to you as well. I hope that this trip of the sun around the zodiacal wheel is the absolute best one yet for everybody here participating and everybody else in the world as well. I know that that's not feasible, so but that really is my wish. So have a great day, have a great night, have a great week. Happy equinox, happy spring, happy fall if you're in the southern hemisphere. Happy new Venus-Saturn cycle that doesn't have to necessarily be as bad as it could be. How about that? All right. Have a great night, everybody. I hope that hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was informative. If you haven't seen the eclipse video, check that out. Facebook and Instagram is where you can find that. And I said eclipse video. Equinox video, and look next Sunday for a new intention. You can find that on Sunday evening on the Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube community channel, and on Meditative Astrology website. Also coming into Aries season, there will be a discount code on the top of the astrology meditative astrology website for a discount for Aries Suns. So I like to throw that out at the beginning of the seasons just to remind everybody. So have a good one. Bye. Reach out at any time, like I've said before.